Hello and welcome to Mad About Sports for yet another video. And today we're going to be talking about the massive upset which has taken place in the 2023 Cricket World Cup. It is Afghanistan going on to defeat the defending champions England. Remember, Afghanistan hadn't won a single game since the 2019 World Cup. There was 9 on the bounce in the 2019 World Cup. Lost the first couple of games leading into this World Cup. And yeah, and the first victory they've got is by defeating the defending champions England. Last time around, when Afghanistan and England met against each other, it was Owen Morgan's show where he went on to create a world record by hitting the most number of sixers in an innings in a one-day match. It was 17 sixers, and Rashid Khan was taken all around the park. But then Afghanistan had a point to prove, and Afghanistan going on to defeat England, it was just a poetic thing which could have ever happened in this 2023 World Cup, as one would like to say so. Now, talking about which, Afghanistan, how did they go on to defeat this team, right? That's a question which everybody has in their mind. How did the Afghan team, who definitely nobody gave a chance about before the start of this game, considering the form, considering various other factors, how did they go on to defeat this mighty English team who was just trying to pick up from the loss against New Zealand? They went on to defeat Bangladesh by a heavy margin, more than an excess of 100 runs. And then what really happened? Now that is where things get really interesting for the Afghanistan team. Remember the start they got. The Afghanistan team got off to a blazing start with Gurbaz leading the charge for them and making sure that there was no issue whatsoever. And that is where things were set on for the Afghanistan team as well. When you have an opener going on to play at that strike rate, that momentum really shifted towards Afghanistan the moment Gurbaz played their innings. And from there on, they did lose a lot of wickets. Gurbaz getting run out was the worst possible thing they could have ever imagined. But then they just kept going. I mean, they were 190 odd for 6. But then two players who really took the mantle. Rashid Khan played a crucial knock at 23. Mujibur Rahman contributed towards the latter end with 28 or 16. But you have to talk about Ikram Ali Khil. When you talk about Ikram Ali Khil, he was part of the 2021 rather under 19 World Cup team semi-finalists. He was part of that team who went on to play the semi-final for Afghanistan. He was a very good player there. He went on to perform well there. For him to do well in a big stage like World Cup, I know you can say 58 of 66 is not a great knock, but considering how the pitch was deteriorating over a period of time, that was a massive knock. That's why you have to give credit to Afghanistan team and the way in which they really went about their business. Now, if you have to really talk about how they bowled, now if 280 280 or 290 in Firuzshah Kotla is still a mere total. It might not be good enough for you to win a game of cricket, but that is where Afghanistan's bowling was exemplary. Now, if you just look at the way in which how they bowl, let's bring up the innings bifurcation for that matter, isn't it? Now, if you look how Afghanistan went about it, the overs bifurcation is what matters the most here. Now, from 40 to 49 overs in Afghanistan's batting innings, that is where you have to say where in which Afghanistan scored 68 runs, but they also managed to score 68 runs despite of losing 6 wickets. Now that last 4 wickets adding on 68 runs was a massive factor in this team. And if you go up that for 30 to 40 overs, not losing more than 3 4 wickets and just scoring 49 runs, but making sure that ship was steadied after the poor mid lowers they had 10 to 20, 20 to 30, where they lost a lot of wickets and clumps. But if you look at England, now this is very interesting because English team after they got off to a poor start to start off with by talking about which they lost 52 for 2, all thanks to the opening bowling spell. Fazal Faruqi picking up wickets and Johnny Bairstow being dismissed for cheaply. That was the tone which they had to set. Once Johnny Bairstow was dismissed, you knew that you were totally in the game. But it's very interesting because the way in which you are Afghanistan has been using Mujib in this World Cup. If you look at the way how Mujib had set up someone like a Joe Root, it's just beautiful to see that the way in which he really set him up in terms of the height, in terms of wicket to wicket lengths. If you look, he was slightly shorter, and that ball which he bowled to Joe Root was a decisive factor here. That was a beautiful ball. It was slightly more fuller and it pitched on the off stump, and Joe Root went on to play for the trajectory, and we're back. The ball just breaking his defense and going into the stump. That was just a beautiful ball. That was a great setup because he was bowling short, and all of a sudden that ball which came full, you can see that in terms of the stump in the length as well. it was hitting the stump. It was right in terms of hitting the stump length. It was not a ball which was bouncing about the stump as well. So that is where you have to give credit to the way in which Afghanistan have used Mujib, especially in the power play, putting him in the new ball. He's comfortable as well balling in the power play. And him trying to create those inroads was brilliant. And then one of the bigger wickets for the Afghanistan team was the wicket of Josh Butler. You have to say that was the biggest turning point in the game, because as long as Josh Butler is there, let it be against any team, the match is still on. If you look the way in which Naveen ball, he was setting him up beautifully. He kept balling out, and that ball was angled in. Butler going for the drive. It's a very classical Butler kind of dismissal. If you've seen how Butler have struggled against paces over the years, it's always that gap which he creates between bat and pad, which makes him open up to play that expansive drive and the ball trying to sneak into the stump. And that's exactly what Naveen tried to exploit once again. If you look at Naveen-ul-haq's bowling action in general, his action really brings the ball inside, and that also means is natural variation is the ball coming in, but it took the ball away, and that ball, the natural variation, the ball just holding on the line and hitting the stump and hit. And Butler dismissed out cheaply. That put England under tremendous pressure. But that's where we have to look at the beehive, over here, in which how Afghanistan and how England lost a lot of wickets. If you look, that there were no partnerships. Afghanistan kept picking up wickets in every interval they got. There was no major partnership. You can talk about Harry Brook playing that 66 odd runs, but there was not a single partner to give him the company. David Malla looked good in patches, but he was not good enough ultimately. That till 91, you felt like, okay, this could be a good partnership from 33 odd till 91, till 33 or 62, 68. You felt like, okay, there's a small partnership building, but all of a sudden 91, Joe Root fell. No, Josh Butler fell rather, and from there Liam Livingston falling as well. It just looked like the team was all around the place. That partnership breaking ability which they've got, the Afghanistan have got, was phenomenal. And one good factor which you have to give is the attacking fields they set. You have to say the attacking field set by the Afghanistan captain, especially to keep a slip throughout their innings. Whenever a new batter came in, even though when there was a partnership being built, he did not remove the slip because he knew with the ballers they've got, they are slightly quicker in the air, and a small edge or any kind of edge which might be created. There might be a chance which might be created there, and that's what he tried to make the most out of. And that really paid dividends for them by giving them a couple of wickets or 3 to 4 wickets. And if you look at the Adil Rashid wicket or Liam Livingston's wicket, for the matter, even for the matter, Sam Curran, all of them have been great captaincy from the captain Shahidi himself, and that's why you have to give him credit. Now let's look at the dot ball percentage, right, against his victim, because Mujibur Rahman was the star with the bat and also with the ball. You can say him opening the ball in and him picking up wickets through the middle overs and in the power play has been the change in comparison to the first couple of matches. What happened against India, they looked all around the place. They looked like a team who was very much not penetrative, you can say so, if that's the right way to go about it, because their penetration looked very poor against India, because they were all around the place in terms of their lengths, and Indian batters, especially Rohit Sharma, kept on attacking them. But them trying to be much more decisive in terms of their decision making, and not just that, in terms of the planning they put in for this game has been exemplary. Jonathan Trott, an Englishman himself, could have had a point to prove against his own country. So there was no better person to get than Jonathan Trott to plan against his team, England, for Afghanistan, and Afghanistan executed that beautifully. If you look at the dot ball percentage, how how Mujib had created over his victims. If you look at the way in which he had put build up pressure against like to Joe Root, against like to Chris Wokes, even against Harry Brook, who was playing at a good knock. He was playing at a good rate. He was striking over and put up, and for him to be put a break upon, you wanted to do something very different. And that's where I think Mujibur Rahman kept him quiet for a while, and then he struck beautifully against him. And that's what happened in terms of how Afghanistan planned their innings against England. Their plan was very clear. Even at the toss, Azmatullah Shahidi went on to say that, our aim is to possibly get a 300 to 80 odd and see how things go from. But if you have to be very honest about how things went, you have to be, you can't deny the fact that this was a better performance in terms of how they planned the whole innings, in terms of how they went about it, in terms of just execution in general. Maybe going ahead as well for Afghanistan, they've got major challenges. They've got Pakistan to play against in Chennai, which is going to be a massive game for them at this point of stage because that'll be much more suited for them to play in Chennai, in Chepauk, because of the conditions they will be in offer, because of what will be given to them on a turning track. Because once they score 280 and the once ball starts gripping, they're a different team, and that's what really helped them. Even with England's lower or trying to punch above the way, trying to score a lot of runs, they kept their composure. And that's why likes of Rashid and Mujib will be a handful for any team to have. And it's going to be really tough to face, especially for the tailenders to pick up Rashid Khan's variations or pick up Mujibur Rahman's variations here. And also with Nabi being extremely consistent with his lengths, with his accuracy, you have to be very honest about the spin trial they've got. They can create upsets in this World Cup, and this is a good start for them. And what does that do to the points table, right? That's the most important question. What does it do to the points table? At this point of stage, it does bring Afghanistan to number 6 in the points table. And for England, it's not good news. They've lost 2 games now. Out of the 3 they played, they lost to New Zealand by a heavy margin. Then they went on to defeat Bangladesh by a good margin, and now losing to Afghanistan. Now for them, all of their games become even more important going ahead. And what also that means for Afghanistan is that also gives them that first major breakthrough win. Remember, Afghanistan have always come close against big teams, but they've never made it across, but they've never crossed the line. And finally, them able to do so will give them that confidence, and will make them feel a world of good going ahead as well in this tournament. And also now they'll start believing that they can close out games, they can defeat major opposition, they can defeat the best of batting lineups with the ball in prowess they've got, and with the batting as well. If they start playing aggressively, play with that mindset, they can possibly go on to scores in excess of 270, 280. Then if the ball starts gripping slightly, their spinners can be in the game. That's where the strength will lie throughout this tournament. That's about it from us. If you did like this video, don't forget to share and also subscribe to our channel. And also do check out our courses with Mad About Sports if you want to know about the breakdowns, if you want to know about what is the future prospects being an analyst, want to know about data, want to know about how you want to devise a strategy against a particular player, how matchups are being called, all these interesting facts you can learn with Mad About Sports. The link is down in the description. And also check out our Instagram page for all the latest sporting updates. Thank you and have a good time.